It is now 7 o'clock on Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. I'd like to call this meeting of the Land Use and Building Management Committee to order. My name is Tom Livingston. I'm the chair. With us tonight on the committee are Barbara Smith, Nicole Ayers, David Hoovelman, Brian Meek, and Greg Burnett. Did I miss anyone? No.
Nicole, did you get Nicole?
I got Nicole. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. First item on the agenda is public participation. Has anybody signed up to speak?
There is someone who is Diane Lauricella has signed up or has raised her hand.
If you can let her speak.
All right. She should be able to speak now.
All right, Diane.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the committee and staff. For the record, my name is Diane Lauricella, 21 Little Fox Lane. Tonight, I just had some quick questions and a comment on letter numeral 5B as in boy under Meadow Street Fire Station roof replacement. I wasn't, when I read the contract or the plan from last month, I didn't see that there would be any accommodation for the installation of solar, because sometimes when you're putting a new roof on there, so I wanted to know if solar is planned for the Meadow Street Fire Station. Number 2, item E3, related to the energy incentive programs with Eversource. I'm hoping that that does not include fracked gas pipelines being placed in. We have had a tendency in our school reconstruction and school energy conversion from oil tanks to fracked gas. I'm not calling it natural gas anymore in the Northeast, it's fracked gas. And so having Eversource be our sole energy incentive company is kind of, in my mind, not being open to other potential ways to capture real other savings. It's almost like the wolf guarding the hen house. And then in E4, where we talk about Verigy or VCP LLC as a preferred solar, I'm very happy that we have switched solar companies. I definitely would have loved to be part of the selection committee. I will try to find out later offline as to who was on the selection committee, but I am pleased to see that we're planning to really be serious on solar. I just ask that we include ground mounted possibilities and optimizing every place possible the use of solar. Lastly, under item V, 5E5, it's Nathan Hale and Silvermine with AC and IAQ. I just wanted to let you know that the state currently has an IAQ or Indoor Air Quality Working Group that is working to amend and write regulations for the updated IAQ policies in our schools, especially. So I wanted to make sure that this seems like it's the first step, but I wanted to make sure that we include generous accommodation for maintenance. And I'm on a statewide advocacy group with the Connecticut Education Association and others. And we are advocating for an annual walkthrough, not the 5 years that are currently on the books. Of course, until that comes into law, the city doesn't have to do it. I'm just suggesting that because of the nature of technology and how important it is to have, of course, indoor air quality for our children and staff and teachers, that they include at some point in the near future, maintenance dollars for having licensed professionals assist with it. I do not know if the plan is to have staff do the work from the facilities department of the Board of Ed or the building management group, but we could hire contractors and should have the money to do so to help reduce their burden, those staff's burden, but also to make sure we are up to date on the building codes. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Diane. Has anyone else asked to participate?
No, Tom, that's all.
Okay, then seeing none, I'll now close public participation and move to the next item, which is the approval of the minutes dated October 5th, 2022. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Are there any revisions or changes to those minutes? I actually have two minor things. And Alan, the first one is on page 2. And it's the third full paragraph. It said that you'd already met with the principal 2 weeks ago. Didn't you meet with both principals in the high school? Yeah, I think we should change the minutes so they read, this is the third line of that paragraph, to say Mr. Lowe said that they had already met with the two principals, spelled properly, 2 weeks ago. Make that change, just to indicate, because I don't want to leave anybody out there. And just a minor change in the top first line on page 3. The city has issued a request for qualifications. Prior to that, they had received 7 responses, which were shortlisted. I think it's not prior to issuing the RFQ, it's as a result of. So I would change prior to that to as a result of that. And that's my changes. And if there are no other changes, I'll call for a motion to approve the minutes as amended. All in favor? 2, 3, 4.
Aye.
And okay, so it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on to old business. And Alan, I know we have people here in different schedules, so if you want to move anything around, just.
No, I think we go, that's fine. Yeah, we go with the old business item with Dave Hop. And also Joyce Liu is here from City's IT department as requested by the, oh, no, sorry. Why don't you introduce the item first and then.
Okay, so this is review of the Board of Education request for the purchase of IT security platform and refer recommendation to the Common Council for approval. This is the item that was tabled from the October 5th meeting. The item is authorize the purchasing agent to issue purchase orders to Blackwood Associates, Inc. for the supply and installation of IT security platform, Extra Hop Reveal X360 solution for Norwalk Public Schools for a total amount not to exceed $106,639. Account noted. Have a motion? Ms. Smith, thank you. All right, Alan.
Yeah, I just want to quickly introduce the item again. I think last month, Land Use Committee reviewed this. And there was some question really regarding, not so much specific for this item, but it's really, it's the whole relationship between the Board of Ed IT and the city's IT department in terms of collaboration and things like that. So today, Dave is back again today. And also joining us tonight is Joyce Liu from city's IT department. And I just want to remind everybody, because this is IT security stuff, so we just don't want to really get into too much detail of security issues and what we're getting and stuff like that. I think the question and comment would be, generally speaking, general, so that we doesn't kind of like risk any kind of like too much information out there for IT security for City of Norwalk. All right, thank you, Dave and Joyce. I guess maybe Dave, you want to reintroduce the request and then moving forward. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so with the Board of Ed, we're looking to purchase this item to help bolster our network security. The system we're looking at scans traffic in and out of the network and back and forth through the network to look for vulnerabilities and look for trends and things that might be causing damage to the network and possible breaches.
And I think one of the questions that came up last time, or the big question was, is this effort coordinated with the city side, city and BOE side? Are they coordinating and getting the most efficient purchasing?
Right. So we looked at this separately. I know Joyce is on, and they looked at their own systems for different reasons. I guess the way we looked at it is we're securing different things, so we're looking at different solutions for that.
So city side, hi, good evening. So city side is also looking for the software like this, well, we also working on, currently we're working on a network monitoring system, which is Board of Education already using that system. So because of them, and the traffic department also using the same system of a network monitoring. And so that's why we were currently evaluated that we're in a testing mode. So that is a, so Board of Education on this side is more advanced than our end. Most of the time, we just have a very limited resource. We want to secure one platform first in order, then that will be putting on the next year budget request. for that software, our cybersecurity mechanism.
Other questions from members of the committee? Mr. Meek.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm probably going to vote no on this again. Couple of questions though, like the contract documents you gave us say that this is operating expense. It's a 1-year contract. So why is this even in front of capital?
There's sorry.
Your backup says that the operating expense allocated to this is over like 75% of the contract. It says that it's for 1 year of service. The CapEx amount is $7,250. And I still don't accept any answer why we can't have synergy with the city and why we're still running 2 separate IT departments. So that's why I'm going to vote against it. If someone can explain to me why this is CapEx when your contract documents say it's operating expense, I would appreciate that explanation.
Sure, there is an initial cost. The licensing is quite high, but there is a hardware piece that goes to this, which we're purchasing all as part of one bundle.
Other questions, discussion? Mr. Burnett? Oh, Greg, I'm sorry. Brian, are you done? Or do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm done. Thanks.
Thanks. Go on, Greg.
Thank you, Chairman Livingston. My question, somewhat similar to Councilmember Meeks, is, is there some technical reason why this particular resource cannot be shared amongst the entire city and Board of Ed network? Is there a clear reason why there needs to be some type of firewall? And if that is, I'll be happy hearing that explanation, which was my initial hesitation as to why we could not get some type of synergy in moving this forward. But if you can just explain if there is some clear technical reason why it needs to be separate, that I would be happy to hear that.
Sure. So while and I might have, the way I explained it last month might have been unclear. We use the same cabling throughout the city, but the wiring that we use is separate. We have separate networks, and our in and out traffic. So from within the BOE network out to the internet is a separate connection than what Joyce and the city uses. So both systems are separated in that way. And, so like my users cannot access anything on the city side, police, fire, anything like that, because the networks are segregated physically.
So even for the budget purpose, like we have some software that Board of Education need to go through the VPN in order to get in our network. So we have a totally separate network for both the Board of Education and city side.
Greg, does that answer your question?
I'm sorry. Yes, it does. Thank you for that clarification.
All right, Ms. Smith?
I just want to dig a little deeper on that, in that, are there security or privacy reasons for the separate system? Because I do recall several years back, something like this coming up, and I think that there were privacy reasons for the students, and the possibility of people accessing their files or something. Is there something related to that would be significant here?
So we should keep the system separate just for that reason, and for not allowing us to have access to anything on the city. The other reason is we have separate internet rules we have to follow for the students. We have to adhere to SIPA compliance for our internet connection. So that's why our internet connection is separate from the cities. If that makes it clear.
It does. Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Meek?
Yeah, sorry. I don't think anyone from finance is here. Just for my edification, what qualifies a contract as capital expenditure when this one clearly shows about 94% of the contract value operating expense versus capital. Again, I just don't understand why this is before us here.
Let me, I cannot answer, I cannot answer a portion of the question. The reason why any item come to the land use committee and to the common council is because the funding from it is on the capital. When it's a request for capital expenditure, they come to the land use committee and to the common council. Whether this item qualify for it, it's I can't answer that because it's really I would have to address this with Dave, Board of Ed IT department, and also, but typically it's really a bonding issue. It's really typically when we do 15-year bonding or 25-year without the bonding kind of thing. So it's supposed to be more than 10 years. That's why operating expenses, when you, there's the short, I believe there's short-term bonding too, because when you buy computers, nowadays it's not for like 10 years. So I think there's a short-term bonding that the city does. I'm not sure about that, but I'm just speculating a little bit that these kinds of conversations we had previously. So yeah, if it's a service contract, it does not come into capital budget, and it's operating expenses.
Thanks, Alan. I mean, it's as clear as day in your packet. This is 84,000 for operating expense, 23,000 for professional services, 7,000 for capital, which I guess is your hardware. Okay, thanks. I'm fine.
Okay, call for, unless there's any more discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so all in favor with exception of Mr. Meek, who was opposed. So one comment I want to make, and Alan and I were speaking about this before. This is an IT item that's coming to us for the reasons that Alan just explained. And as the expertise sort of in the city, the IT expertise seems to go through finance. It seems to, Alan, maybe putting words in your mouth, but it seems to us that perhaps with Mr. Burnett's consent and the committee's consent, that IT items like this should go through finance committee, because this committee really doesn't have the expertise, whereas finance reports to has the IT department report to it indirectly, I believe. So it probably makes more sense to go through your committee, Greg, going forward.
I would concur with that, and you know, at the end of the day, it all of it meets up at the common council table.
Right.
But I would concur that the IT items should go through the Finance and Claims Committee.
Okay, so we'll do that going forward. We do have a couple more items tonight, but going forward, it makes sense. Okay, moving on to new business. This is review and approve the proposed plans and specifications for the Lockwood Matthews Mansion Museum Codes and Safety Improvements Project. Information available at the meeting. Information available from Mr. Hempstead, I believe.
Well, I'm going to introduce you to our team. First of all, hello, everybody. Hello to my former teammates. I'm Doug Hempstead, Chairman of Lockwood Matthews Mansion Museum. Patsy Brescia, who is normally our front person for all this, who's the chairperson for the building committee, is chairing your committee for charter revision. All right, tonight. So she's not here to join us. Also with us is Susie Gilgore, our executive director, who is an architect and also our owner's rep on this project, and John Wolakowski, I hope I pronounced it right, John, who was with David Scott Parker. I didn't, I brutalized it. Okay. Who is the architect with David Scott Parker, who was the architect of record for this. I will turn this over to others to probably get more detail. Robert and I think John and Susie can jump in later if you want to, but on behalf of the mansion and staff and all, we still thank you for your support in the past and your continued support. And we're hopefully some future support once we get some of these bids back. All right. Thank you.
Go, Alan.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to quickly just kind of like a little background on this project. The state funded money initially, I think it's $5 million, I think it is. And the city put in $2.5 million. Total is $7.5 million, I think, whatever it is. And then subsequently, additional fund, I got all confused. But subsequently, the state and the city both contribute another $3 million to the project. The total project right now is about $13.5 million. The city's, I think it's $5.5 million. I'm not mistaken. There's an initial agreement between the city and Lockwood Matthews Mansion for the financial assistance agreement that was executed. And with the additional $3 million, we are looking to do an amendment to that agreement. As part of the amendment, there's a requirement for Lockwood Matthews Mansion to present to the Land Use Building Management Committee the latest plans before it goes to bid, so that the common council, the city's funding the money and the project is being presented. So previously, this project came to Land Use and Building Management at the inception stage, but at the same time, before it go out, it's a requirement agreement that we come again one more time, so that everybody's aware of the project is going out to bid. It's actually on the street right now in terms of bidding. So with that, John.
Hi, everyone. I'm gonna I'll let Robert start off the comments, and I can jump in and fill you in on the content as appropriate.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the members of the committee. My name is, as Doug said, Robert Cavello of Westview Group. I am acting as the mansion's owner's rep. I'm going to just take you through where we are for the past year, since I've been generally involved with the project, and that kind of brings us up to where we are today. So a year ago, we went through an approval process and selection of our construction manager. And we brought on board Consigli Construction to act as our construction manager for the project. Their first phase of work was to provide us the pre-construction services for the project. And some of those highlights of those pre-construction services was for them to do a review of the documents for constructability. We went through a very extensive structural probing and investigations throughout the building to help both the design team and the contractors figure paths and ways to actually construct this mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems that is the primary focus of this project, and also some security and the data upgrades. The contractor, Consigli, also assisted us in putting together our initial design development budget. And from that point, we moved forward into the construction document phase. Working closely with John at David and his team at David Scott Parker's office and our engineers, we developed a budget again at 50% CDs. And now we are now at 100% complete CD documents and have started our bid process. The contractors, during this whole period, we worked hand in hand with both SHPO and with DECD throughout the process. They met with us weekly and still continue to meet with us weekly as the plans develop. So that was a very important part of this process, and we developed quite a synergy in our team, working with Susie and with Doug and with Patsy, to focus and fine tune the documents. And also included in the documents, and which John will expand on, is we've added alternates to the package. And in the event that there's additional funds available to us to add those alternates. Those alternates are very critical to the mansion for the future and the operation. Whereas the base part of the project, as I mentioned, is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, and security, and AV technology systems. The bid packages are out. We've just completed our second mandatory pre-bid meetings today. We have already started receiving RFIs during the process. Our goal is to open bids unless there's a heavy series of additional RFIs required. Our bid opening dates are for 11/17 of this month. So that's a critical point in time for us in the project. And so we can then hopefully vet out all the bidders and develop the GMP with Consigli to move the project forward. Our goal is, if we are successful with the bids, is to start construction on or about February of 2023. Consigli also has assisted us with the project schedule, and our project schedule is about an 18-month period. We hope to do it in less time, but we are anticipating a 16 to 18-month period in which the mansion will vacate during that period because of the extensiveness of the work. What the mansion has been doing leading up to this point is going through and their collection and their furniture and getting ready to move out the materials in order for us to start the work. So that's a very extensive part of the process, but we'll not pull the trigger on that until we have the GMP in our hand. So those are the major milestones for the project. I'll let John take us through some of the architectural and MEP features of the project.
I just want, I'm sorry, Robert, I know I do this all the time. You mentioned some initials here. DECD is Department of Economic Community Development, where the money is coming from the state. SHPO is the State Historic Commission, Historic State
Preservation Office.
Preservation Office, correct.
Right. And then lastly, it's a GMP is just really the contracting price, we guarantee maximum price,
Right.
which the construction manager will provide us after the bidding process. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, terrific. I'm gonna just do a quick screen share. Let's see if I get this right. Nope. Okay. Sorry, I'm doing this. I don't normally do this for my phone, but let me see if I can.
Mike, you're muted.
Am I
John,
muted?
John, there should be a green button in the
Oh,
middle.
no, that's fine. Yeah, no, the green button's fine. The problem is that I am on, I'm doing this from my phone instead of my laptop because and so it's a little bit different. Let's try that.
Nope.
It might be. Let's see. No.
Does anyone else have them?
Give me just one second, and I'll. I know there's a way to do this. Share. There. Okay.
While you're doing that, are you guys looking, it says on the agenda, review and approve proposed plans. So you're looking for an actual approval from us tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, everything we're presenting has been presented before. I believe we were actually presented previously in the spring of last year. And the
I think fundamentally, this is a project that is not really changing aesthetic of the building. It's an existing building. The improvement, it's really code and safety improvements. But then at the same time, is all this work had to be restored to the original conditions. So generally speaking, nothing really changes. So in a sense, it's a performer review review approval, because it's not like we're looking at changing architecture and things like that. It's really just restoration and standard to our agreements. They are required to come back to show it before we go out to bid. So generally speaking, there's nothing in here. It's really different, except that, you know, they gotta take off floorboards, they gotta put it back in. So it's aesthetic wise, there's really no changes.
right, correct. I'm sorry, I'm having actually some technical difficulty. I've this first time trying to do this from a phone. And I can pull up the PowerPoint, but I'm having issues pulling up but what I pulled out was a brief selection of drawings. The project has not changed from what was previously presented, which is basically it is a project that includes mechanical, electrical, a small amount of plumbing, major effort for fire safety and sprinkler. There is no sprinkler in the building. Electrical power to the building was upgraded about 10 years ago, but all of the wiring in the building is old. All of the lighting in the building is not energy efficient. The mechanical systems in the building are not energy efficient. And in fact, the building is closed for 3 months out of the year because it's too expensive to heat. It's a 35,000 square foot building. So when we talk about it's just in a matter of scale, it is a massive undertaking to introduce new systems and upgrade them within the structure. We have been working with the mansion since 2008, and we established the master plan at that time. We broke off small parts of the master plan as we could. Most of those were for accessibility upgrades and for improvements to the roof, which had a lot of issues with leaks and water infiltration. All of those projects have been done. The project that we're embarking on now is really to upgrade the systems within the building. And so this is a larger building than you could ever build today without having a sprinkler system in it. And for the safety of the building and the safety of the structure, it's important that this be installed. We all saw with horror what happened to Notre Dame when that structure, his wonderful historic structure, burned. This may not have the same prestige, but it is very important. It's the only National Historic Landmark in the city of Norwalk. It was the 6th National Historic Landmark designated in the state of Connecticut, and it has importance on both the regional, state, and national level. Unfortunately, it's not possible to install partial systems, and though the reason why this is as big a project as it is you either have a sprinkler system or you don't have a sprinkler system. Because of the effort to install that and protect the existing finishes and surfaces of the building, it also makes sense to upgrade other systems at the same time. So when we were first brought on board in 2008, it was to look specifically at the issue of sprinklers in the building. But at the same time, it makes sense to also look at antiquated and dangerous wiring. It's important to look at energy systems or mechanical systems that are not energy efficient, and all those are folded into this project at that time. When we talk about the issue of alternates and other things that we hope to do, those include things like creating actual functional administrative offices within it so that the people who work there can function, which they've never had. Having things like a warming kitchen for a caterer, so that if they do use the facility for income generating events, that there is something that resembles at least an appropriate facility to accommodate those. Putting archival materials in an accessible basement instead of scattered up in the attic in unconditioned space, so that it can be open for public use and available to scholars who want to come and study the building and its collections. Those are really the other things that are on the list of alternates. Also on the list of alternates, a community room, so that we can have additional space for lectures and for children's programs in the basement. It's basically cleared out space that just needs some modest finishes to get in place. These various alternates are important to achieve sooner than later because they actually make the building function. And with so much effort being taken to move things out of the building, which is a prodigious effort because it's filled with really irreplaceable antiques from the original owners, it would really make the most economic sense to finish all of the project now and not have to come back and try and do some of these things later. So some of these alternate things that I just mentioned, they're not yet funded. We're hoping, and I know that the people at the mansion are working very hard to try and get some of that funding in place so that this can be done in the most cost-efficient way possible. And again, I apologize for not being able to bring up the graphics, but overall, the scope of the work hasn't really changed from what we've discussed in the past several presentations.
So here's my conundrum here. I first off, I fully support the project, and you have shown us the slides, but that was last year.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think we need to see the slides because we are approving this, but I don't know how the rest of the committee feels. I'd be willing
Robert, can you pull them up, Robert?
I don't have, unless John sends them to me, maybe I could do it.
Yeah, give me, let me just try a couple of other things and see if I can make that happen. Did I-
Brian, Brian, while we're waiting. I was gonna suggest we could do
Oh.
this at the meeting next week, but, Brian,
Well, can we,
Yeah.
since, I'm sorry, since we have a number of items, can we, once you guys figure it out, can you come back on that, later on in
Yeah.
the meeting?
Yeah,
would-
let me just see if I can get that to work in the, if you just give me, if I can come back again, I'm happy to share that with you.
John, if you'd like to, alternatively, you could email me the drawings and I could share them later in the meeting if that helps.
They're in a PowerPoint. If you can you run a PowerPoint?
I sure can.
Okay, I'll send that to you. And who is, hold on a second. I just lost my screen, so give me 1 second.
while we're doing it, Brian, you raise your hand.
Oh, yeah, I'm in total support of the project. I would just ask that those slides be added to our minutes for posterity. And I'm also happy that this is being discussed the same night we're gonna add some air conditioners to some of our school buildings. So, thanks.
Okay, Greg,
I'm sorry, who was that offered to
Yeah,
take those?
my email address is,
Give me 1 second. Let me just grab a pen.
Greg, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My only question is, as it's written on the agenda that we approve this, there's no dollar amount associated to it. So just as a point of clarity, are we approving any increase of dollars in this motion or just conceptually approving the work?
Under the proposed financial assistance agreement, the amount is what the Common Council approves as on the last capital budget approval, which is $3 million. So we're adding $3 million to the agreement between the city and Lockwood Mansion. The money is what the council approves, so you will not, it's not, that agreement has been approved by Common Council. It needs to be executed. That's all it is. So the dollar amount is $3 million. What we have, as part of that agreement, they're required to show the plan. So it's really approving the plans. And also there's a budget that they have provided me that break down all those miscellaneous costs. I reviewed it and I forwarded back to the law department because law department required those two things to as part of the amendment to the agreement.
Okay, thank you.
All right, should we come back to you guys? Or do you have it?
Why
Mike,
don't you come back to us, Tom? I don't want to hold up the meeting.
yeah, let me do that. So let's keep moving, we'll come back. So this
Yeah,
next,
And,
this is-
and John, mute yourself, John, please.
John, I'll send you an email right now that you can reply to.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, 7B, review bid recommendations from the Meadow Street Fire Station Roof Replacement Project. We refer the following to the Common Council for approval. A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute contract with Gold Seal Roofing LLC from the Meadow Street Fire Station Roofing Replacement Project for a total not to exceed $313,000, account noted. And B, authorize the fire department to issue change orders on contracts for a total not to exceed $31,000. You have a motion? Anyone? Ms. Smith, thank you. Alan?
Yeah, I want to quickly, this is a project that's being brought forward by the fire department. I guess some member of the Common Council were aware of this. Recently, they went out to bid and they got the bids back and the bids were exceeding the budget. So what the fire department did is went for a special appropriation that went through the process and of the Common Council, I believe earlier this month or last month. And then the money has been approved, special appropriation, capital approval has been approved. And Mark is here today to request approval of the contractor to start the project. So with that,
Mark?
Good evening. Yes, we went actually when I took over this project last year, actually November, Chief Gatto and I we decided rather than just patch the roof that had been done throughout the years, we actually met with first we met with SNEW regarding solar panels, as a matter of fact, and they said obviously they said this can be done at a later time, but you definitely want to do a full roof replacement. So I went and went through with the and discussed that with the architect Gill and Gill, and they came in, they did their site work, their site view, and they agreed completely that there were multiple code violations and the probably the most notable were the skylights, the original skylights. There were 4 up in that building. They were all failing. There was actually lichen in between them. And we had 3 obsolete vents that were just, open to there that will be covered. And we had an obsolete soil pipe because they actually switched over to gas. I think it was 2016, if I'm correct. And we didn't have any proper roof access. So we actually, they wrote in the drawings to replace one of the skylights with the proper roof access, a Bilco door with the proper OSHA compliant ladder to access that. It will also allow, code compliant installation, which we didn't have in the original, just patching. We wouldn't allow that. And it'll also give us proper gas line rollers that did not exist on the building at the time, and to repair the coping that we noticed was in far worse condition than I think was anticipated. And it gives us a minimum 30-year warranty on this roof. So that's what we went with. And so this was the bid that we came back with, and it just happened, and it exceeded our original amount.
And this was the bid you went to the finance committee with, right? Before the
Yes.
council, right?
Yes.
And just so everyone in the committee knows, Alan is not involved in this project. It's just coming through the committee because it involves a city building. Any questions? All right, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? No, unanimous. I will say, thank you for coming. I just will say, if you can look into solar, I think it'd be great to get that up there. But
That's one of the main reasons why we chose to do the full roof replacement, because SNEW advised us. They said we could do it later. It didn't have to be done at the same time.
Well, as you may have seen on the agenda, we do have a new solar company. Maybe help there.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Review Board of Education IT requests and refer the recommendations to the Common Council. A, authorize the purchasing agent issue purchase order to Wally Computer Associates for 1,000 Dell Chromebooks for a total amount not to exceed $319,000. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue purchase order to Connecticut Business Systems for 18 75-inch ViewSonic boards for a total amount not to exceed $61,264. Account noted. Have a motion? Mr. Burnett, thank you. Okay, who's doing this? Mr. Hopper?
Hello again.
Dave?
So yeah, so as you know, we're a one-to-one district now. Every student has a device that they use all day and bring home. So the Chromebooks are to replace in the elementary grades to update some of the older ones that are falling out of update cycles. So Chromebooks only last a few years before they cycle them out. Excuse me, the ViewSonic boards are to replace old and failing smart boards that we put in probably 10, 12 years ago. I think we're probably about 75% done with replacements. So this is just an additional 18 to put out throughout the buildings.
Okay, any questions? Discussion? Mr. Meek?
Yeah, I think I'm probably voting no on both of these. One, the first item, I don't know why we're going through this state PO on this no bid contract. You can go to Dell Direct and save about 50,000 off of this. I actually went to them. They got me the quote in 5 minutes. It's the same exact contract. It's actually through them. So I don't know who this third party reseller is that the state uses, but they're ripping us off. So I definitely want Chromebooks for the kids. I just think we could get more and more bang for our buck. So I'm a no vote on that. Second item is that's actually a very good price. It's from Xerox, which is a Norwalk company. I'd love to support them, but at the same point, we canceled all capital investment in the old Norwalk High, and this is capital investment. So I could consider each of the items separately, but why are we putting capital expenditures into the old Norwalk High that's going to be bulldozed? Thanks.
Dave, can you respond?
Sure. So when it comes to Norwalk High School, they need these tools to teach, and that's all we're doing is trying to get them what they need so they can be up to par with the rest of the buildings. they can be moved out of that building at that time. I mean, we're not gonna leave them in there. They'll be a few years old at that point, because I don't know the timeline on Hawkeye yet, but
It's
that's
4
that.
years.
4 years, okay.
Now, what about the pricing issue?
We've always leveraged the Connecticut state contract. And it seems, because we deal with Dell directly also, but usually it's not a contract price. I can look into it, but yeah, I'll double check. That's all I can say for that, because the price is usually always the best. Regardless if I get it through Wally or CDW, which Wally was better than CDW on this one, so.
David?
Yeah, we've, correct me if I'm wrong, over the last couple of years, we're 1-to-1. Is that correct? Chromebook to student? And you're saying,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
You're saying that, and also you have computers, all the staff have computers. I mean, it's a lot of computers. You're saying the Chromebooks are only good for a couple of years, 3 years tops, that you're cycling them. So we're looking at replacing the entire 4th grade right now for 313,000, or, you know, somewhere in that neighborhood. And how often are we going to be seeing this now coming in front of us for this type of expenditure in order to keep this technology up to date?
Right. So the machines that we're replacing are older than 3 years. So a lot of these units were already in place before the pandemic. We pulled them out of carts, gave them to the kids to take home so that to bring us to 1-to-1. So if you look at the life cycle, it's probably about 5 years. And so we probably do about a grade level a year is the plan.
Do you guys have a schedule mapped out for that? Do we see a schedule so we have an idea? Because these are some pretty big expenditures that are going to be coming our way. And do we know how we're mapping that out, looking?
I can get that for you.
That would be nice to see. Thank you.
Greg?
Yes, thank you. My question is around the 1,000 number. So 1,000 new Chromebooks, and you're taking 1,000 out of circulation. Is that 1,000 Chromebooks like totally useless? There's no way to recycle them or share them with a nonprofit organization? Are they just totally, not functional? Or what status is that 1,000 in?
They are functional. What happens is with Chrome is they get out of their life cycle and they can't be updated to the newest version anymore. Once that happens, applications stop working and things of that nature. A lot of times we still use them, some of them for different projects like say summer school, things like that. And then some of them were, after they've been kind of beat up for a while, we use them for parts. But we do recycle everything that gets.
So do you have specifics in terms of we're bringing in 1,000 new ones? We're taking 1,000 out of circulation or student use. What percentage of that 1,000 is going to be refurbished or used in some other way?
I don't have exact numbers, but it'll probably be about 60% or so for now. Some of them will be moved around into other grades. If we go through them, we notice that these ones are still in good shape and as spares, because a lot of times, especially in the high schools, the kids need spares because there's while their actual Windows laptop is being repaired.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, I know you had your hand up, but Nicole hasn't spoken yet, so I'm going to go next. Nicole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is just about the
Nicole, you got some
quality.
feedback there. Yeah.
She's logged on twice. That might have something to do with
Yeah.
it. If Nicole, if you're logged on 2 separate devices.
Give me a minute. Let me try to fix this. Brian can go.
Brian, did you have another question?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to make a motion to table the item so we have more information.
Yeah, I know that it's not debatable. I just have one question for Mr. Is this a time critical issue?
Thanks, Tom.
Dave, you're muted.
I'm sorry. The pricing should stand and we'll review that and I'll look and do this for a little while, so no, I should be fine. The Chromebooks, that is.
Okay, there's a motion to table this item.
So the motion would be, sorry, let me clarify the motion. The motion would be to table the item on the Chromebooks.
Item A.
Item A, thanks.
To refer to get more information on pricing. Okay.
And
Mr.
if
Chair.
Dave is Hopty at norwalkps.org, I can forward him our sales rep who deals directly with MPD for all their purchases. I don't know if you know her, Crystal Zidek.
Well, you can send them that. Nicole, you had to hand up.
Yes, get my feedback now?
No, you're good.
Oh, thank you so much. My question was really about, as someone who works with the students on a day-to-day basis, the quality of the Chromebooks. So I understand that this allotment of Chromebooks you are taking out for refurbishment, but when they were initially brand new or semi-new, I don't know, when they were initially given to students, those Chromebooks were not of high quality. How are we making sure that we're getting a good quality product in the hands of these students?
So the original ones we bought years and years ago were of a brand I didn't really care for. As we move forward,
Nicole,
the HPs we were purchasing previously in these new Dells are much better specs. They use better electronics. So I think it would be okay.
Okay, so Mr. Meek has made a motion to table item CA till next month to get further information on the pricing. I'll now call for a vote on that item. All in favor? So any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. I'll now call for a vote on CB, unless there's any further discussion on that. Okay, all in favor of item CB? Opposed? So Brian's Nicole, you're opposed or just you're for?
I'm for.
Okay, so we have, okay, so it's 5 in favor, 1 opposed, Mr. Meek. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Alan's proposed, or he's raising his hand.
Well, I'm not proposing anything. I just want to let everybody, the committee know that today I have a conversation with Ralph Balancizzi of Board of Education. The question came up about IT equipment and purchases, and also the strategy of Board of Education. He reminded me that a number of years ago, the Board of Ed had done a held a presentation with back then this committee, Land Use and Building Management Committee, and we held it in, I think, with Brian McMahon High School. So he gone through, like, talk about the Board of Ed's 5-year IT plans and go through some of the strategy that the Board of Education has, as well as in classroom teaching methodology in terms of what equipment they use, how kids uses it, and stuff like that. He wanted me to offer it to this committee or potentially a finance committee. If we shift all the IT stuff to the finance committee, maybe it'd be good to have if there's interest, maybe we can hold that meeting next land use meeting or a finance committee meeting at one of the school, and they can go for a presentation how these things work or doesn't work, and so have better, so the council has a better not perspective, I don't mean it that way. The council will have more information about what Board of Ed strategies are in terms of IT purchase and IT strategy moving forward. Tom, you muted.
Let's say I suggest that you work with Mr. Burnett on that. It goes right through finance. It makes sense to do that. Okay, let's try and keep this moving. Is the Lockwood Mansion, folks, are they ready? All right, that's
it's ready. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Okay, sorry again for the kerfuffle. Okay, can everyone see my screen all right?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, terrific. So this is a cover sheet from those documents. And again, it includes all of the systems, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. It also includes some site work. So what you're seeing here now is actually the site utility plan. And down here right now, if you could see my cursor, I'm actually tracing the outline of the mansion. And what you're seeing here are this line here, which goes all the way back to this location, is bringing in new water service with sort of an 8-inch line that would offer sufficient pressure to provide water for the sprinkler system. And then you also see a line running back in this direction, which goes to the fire department connection that would be over by the main park entry drive. The other critical item that would affect the site is right here. This is the bank of outdoor condensers for the air conditioning system that would be located here. If you're approaching the mansion, this, again, it's very light here, it's a little hard to see, but this is
John,
the—
John, can you just show where West Avenue is and where Children Museum is so that people have a better reference?
Yeah, so to orient yourself, again, this is the mansion. West Ave would be over this way, and this is Stepping Stones over here. This is Stepping Stones Museum, okay? All right. So this bank of air conditioning equipment is over in this location. And if you'll see on the next drawing, oops, we went way too far. Sorry. This is, you can, oh, okay, that's interesting. For how that happened. This is the, again, that equipment bank, and it's all intended to be landscaped around that. In this image, the mansion is here, and then Stepping Stones is back over here, okay? And again, there's landscaping that's happening around the air conditioning equipment. There's a rain garden in the to address runoff, any kind of runoff from this small little area of paving. And that's really it for what's happening outside the mansion. The bulk of the work is happening inside. And this drawing, so I'm going to give you just a few different slides that will just give you a sort of summary of the general scope of what's happening. In the basement, a lot of what's happening is under slab piping and ductwork for the HVAC, plumbing, and electric. So what you see here is a diagram that shows all of the piping that's going to be going into the basement just to service mechanical equipment. And for this piping, what we're going to need to do is to carefully pull up all of the bluestone dry laid flooring. It gets set aside in catalog so that can be put back down in its original location, which is a requirement for the State Historic Preservation Office. Then all of this piping gets laid under slab and some ductwork as well. Also in the basement, there'll be obviously exposed sprinkler pipe. It comes in to the building around this area and then disperses throughout. And then there's others that's coming over in this area that then disperses on this side of the building. We're trying not to disturb the center of the basement because it has the original bowling alley in it. The next image, one of the other things that's really going to be a big effort in the building is trying to create locations to run sprinkler pipe and conduit and other things. In this view, I've actually jumped up in the second floor. So this, for those of you who've been in the building before, this is the rotunda, the large triple height central space. And all of these rooms around here were bedrooms and sitting rooms and family areas in the original building. Those buildings were all, they never had finished flooring actually. They were all in period, they were all carpeted. The carpeting is gone in most cases. And so what we have now is the original subfloor. So we're able to very carefully trench the subfloor in various locations so that we can run piping for sprinkler and conduit in select areas only where we need it. And we can really keep from having to do too much that's disruptive to the very historic highly finished, and mostly restored spaces in the first floor below. So a big part of this project is really negotiating how to get piping and conduit in places that do the least harm to the building possible. This has all been reviewed extensively with all the engineers and with the State Historic Preservation Office. Jumping back down to the first floor, one of the things that will make a big difference in terms of appearance is lighting. The lighting systems in the building are old and they're not particularly energy efficient. And there are areas that are not adequately lit to safety levels. So one of the goals in this project is to include new energy efficient LED lighting throughout, even on the historic fixtures where we're using them, and to bring lighting levels up to a level where the public can safely move through the building without hazard. And then up on the third floor, we talked about fire suppression. On the third floor, a lot of these things are going to be exposed. The reason for that is that the third floor and the attic of the building will never be open to the public. They're not accessible, and it's unlikely that we don't anticipate that there would ever be funds available within our lifetime to restore these areas. But the advantage of that concession is that we can bring a lot of our piping, conduit, and other things up to this level. And what's happening is that we have risers that are coming up from the basement of the building, and they come up to this third floor level, particularly in the corners where we don't have historic spaces. From here, they distribute laterally to the right location so that they can drop down to the second floor below and get into the appropriate floor cavity so that we can run sprinkler pipe parallel to the structure and not have to do a lot of complicated structural manipulations to get our piping where we need it to be. The loss is that we have a lot of exposed things on the third floor, but the benefit is that we're protecting the most important spaces of the building. But the most important thing is that this has all we've carefully looked at this with our engineers, with our mechanical engineers, our structural engineers, and with people from the State Historic Preservation Office. I mentioned that there were alternates and other items that, again, not funded, but they hope to be able to do. Some of these, as I mentioned, include multiple purpose room. This gives an opportunity for a basement space that with just actually a little bit of work can be a good place for children's programs, a good place for lectures. It basically takes some of the pressure off of the more historic rooms upstairs. And children's programs can be down here and they can be messy, and you don't have to worry about people damaging very expensive painted decorative walls or woodwork. The bowling alley, I mentioned that before. This is there be some restoration work that could be included as part of this. It's actually up a half a step from the adjacent floor, so there needs to be something done so that it's not a tripping hazard. It's important to go over the elevator because the elevator or over the bowling alley, because on the other side from the main stair is the archives reading room. Someone would traverse the bowling alley to get to here. Bowling alley has the potential to be an additional event space. If you could think of a sort of basement rathskeller, it's one of the few basements in a historic mansion of this type that has a lot of its key features intact. And whereas in other buildings, this kind of space is not open to the public, and people don't really get to see how the building worked when it was first built. It's very possible to see here. The original mechanical equipment and other things are here. And this actually can be, would be great to offer because it would be another revenue stream for the mansion and its operating expense. I talked about archives, the archives reading room. We have systems in place so that we can have both very carefully temperature and humidity controlled space for the archival materials that are presently just scattered throughout the building. They can be located here and available for scholars. An image of what the archival storage itself might look like is here. And then of course the gift shop. One always wants to exit through the gift shop after one's had your wonderful visitor experience. It's great to stop here, and get people to spend some money. Obviously, it's a very expensive building to maintain, and anything we can do to increase their revenue stream is helpful. Are there any questions?
Any questions in the committee? Looks great. Okay, seeing no.
Can I,
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah, Doug, go ahead.
Susan's here. For those who've never been to the mansion, please call us and set up a tour. The more I'm there, and the more time I've been spending there, especially over the last year, and I've always been supportive of going back to the 80s with capital projects for this, that you realize really truly how special and unique and ahead of its time this building is, let alone have original doors, have original work. This building, even though the city of Norwalk parked lawnmowers on its floors, is in remarkable original condition. And part of our challenge is going to be, as you know, that we have to move out. That means not only everything in the building, but means all staff. So we are very conscious. Patsy and I and Susan have worked very hard trying to peel thousands of dollars off the moving, because when it's not like moving a home, when you're moving these kind of pieces, the estimates are anywhere from $400,000 to $700,000. When you talk about moving, storage, because you're dealing with furniture that's original. Some of it's worth statues that are worth hundreds of thousands. Some of them are actually can't even put a price on. So we've been working diligently trying to subdivide that into what needs special treatment, what needs special treatment, and what can we kind of rent a wetsy space and put into. So we're very conscious of how we're spending the money. And none of the money being appropriated is for any of our operating expenses, you know, as far as staff goes and that. It's strictly going toward the construction of the building. Since I asked Susie to hang in here tonight, would it be okay just to have her describe some of the benefits of the programs that the kids in Norwalk benefit from, and that, because we do run educational programs and we are responsible by our charter to continue those while we're closed. So,
Sure.
And we're obligated to do so. Susan, are you still there? No, maybe not.
I am.
Okay, can you just tell a little about, you know, some of the programs we've been running and the success stories and amount of visitors that come to Norwalk to visit this very neat place. And Susan has been responsible. She's my executive director now for about 10 years. And we have national recognition. We have put Norwalk on the map with this building and vice versa through efforts. You know, we have been in national magazines twice wrote USA best place to visit at the holiday time. So it's a benefit all the way around. Susie?
So, well, thank you for having me here and thank you for all your support. Certainly these upgrades will allow to protect the many thousands of visitors and students who come to the mansion. And the IT and electrical upgrades will really enhance visitors' experience. We, at the moment, because there's no electricity on the second floor and the IT is sketchy, we cannot have children run around with apps, learning about the mansion. We certainly cannot bring students or visitors upstairs after a certain time of the year. We usually close the upstairs floors in November because of the lack of electricity. So there are many reasons to do these upgrades, which will enhance this national treasure, but also treasure of the city of Norwalk. And we have a lot of great plans ahead, both for when we're closed, the building will be closed. We're I've applied for a grant from Connecticut Humanities to support some of the programs for students and adding a living history component to our student in-class tours. We will have lectures, and we will keep the mansion in the eyes of the public until we are ready to move back in. And when we're ready to move back in, we're planning a major exhibition, hopefully on finance, which we have never been able to have, because most of the artifacts would have to come from major institutions from Wall Street and the New York area. And because we don't have the kind of upgrades that we need, they have refused such loans to us. So thank you for listening. And if you have any questions.
Well, thank you, Susie. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, the whole team. You guys have done an amazing job. You're really right. It is a city treasure. And I'm so glad that you guys take the care of the building that you do, and you're forward looking with everything that you're doing now. So Barbara.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. The mansion is a treasure. I have had the opportunity to tour it. It was quite a number of years ago, but it really was extraordinary. The guide was wonderful. I had taken my mother when she was here visiting, and she loved it too. And I did have that experience of, gosh, I would have loved to have seen upstairs and, you know, everything that the mansion has to offer. I'd also like to add, I am aware how hard you have been working and searching for appropriate storage for everything. And I know that you've been very mindful of the cost, and I know you're still working on that. So I do wish you all the best of luck, because, you know, everything there is precious and needs to be stored in the most appropriate way. And I'm just, you know, it's going to be a bummer to have it closed for so long, but it will be worth it, and I really look forward to the day it reopens.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
David.
Thank you, Chairman Livingston. I'm very excited that this is finally taking off. I think this is fantastic. I just think I agree with my colleagues. It's a treasure for the city. It's an amazing structure with great history. I've been there many times. It's the upstairs is impressive. I was able to tour that one year when I went with my son's school group, and we were able to see the upstairs. It's an incredible building. I can't stress enough that people need to visit it, need to patronize it. It's so wonderful, and spending time there, you just see how amazing the building is. So thank you for bringing this to us and getting started on this. Very excited to see this happen.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other comments, I am going to move the item, which is the review. Move the item, which is the approval of the proposed plans and specifications for Lockwood Matthews Mansion Museum Codes and Safety Improvements Project as presented at this meeting tonight. So I've now moved the item. I'll call for a vote unless there's any discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, everybody involved.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's see if we can move this along. We're over an hour in, and we're not even through halfway. So item VD 5D, review recommendations for office improvements in the controller's office, and refer the following to the common council for action. A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with HV Contractor Corporation for security and office improvements in the comptroller's office for a total not to exceed $33,950. Count noted. And B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders on the contract for a total not to exceed $3,395. Do I have a motion? Mr. Hooverman, thank you. Alan.
I have a excuse me, Neil Rennie here tonight. You met him last time, which he's my member of my Alan's team and on building management stuff. And recently you met him at this meeting with regarding energy measures by building management. So he's going to quickly present this. It's pretty straightforward. It's a small project that we need to proceed with. So Neil.
Neil Rennie, Guardian Services, property manager. So this job is a small job, as Alan mentioned. Two parts to it. Well, we're looking to add 2 additional offices for new staff in the controller's office. And we're also looking to build a small waiting room, which adds added security for the controller's office. Right now, it's pretty much an open concept. Anybody can walk in. They manage cash, checks behind the counter. It would give them added security and like a teller type window.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all in favor? 4, 5, unanimous, thank you. We've also asked, Neil, do you want to, Alan?
Yeah, yep.
So based upon the conversation we had, Nicole, you'd raised this about how the city looks at the maintenance of its buildings. I asked Alan and Neil to talk about that a little bit for us.
So I want to talk a little bit about our capital, but as we're going into the budget season, our capital budgeting program that we have in place. It's a collaborative process. It starts with our end user, starts with our team, Alan Lowe, Guardian Management and Engineering Services. We have a 6-man crew that's out in all of our buildings on a daily basis. As part of that, they're always looking for deficiencies, whether they're in the operating budget or capital budget. We also have a selected number of us that walk the building formally to look for such deficiencies. We manage primarily the infrastructure, so we're looking at roofs, facades, windows, major components, mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, energy management initiatives. So those are all things of importance. The other thing that we like to go into is the criticality of how we kind of prioritize our all of our projects, and that's typically based on what's really important. For instance, if we're doing a project for the police department, right now that is for the air conditioning, that is a major component for us. If we have failure of air conditioning, critical air conditioning, we would have a major issue over there. So we'd like to prioritize that on importance of the project. Roofing obviously is a big component of that. Sometimes obviously the end users play into that because there may be projects that may affect their programming. So we rely on them to come forward with that. Anybody? Oh yeah, I wanted to speak about, we have a 5-year plan that we continue to look at on an annual basis. We add to that on the end to continue to keep that fresh and keep that out in front of us. Does anybody have any questions or on how we go about the process?
Any questions? No, well, thank you. Thank you for that.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for letting me speak.
And thanks for hanging out.
Oh, no problem.
I owe him lunch tomorrow.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I might be waiting a while, but okay. Have a great
Good
evening.
night. Okay, Alan, let's go to school construction projects. Just quick update, only changes, if you will.
Yeah, Mike and Dan is here very quickly. You guys can go through those. Mike, you're muted.
Muted.
Dan, can you bring that up?
Yep, I'll pull it up for us. Just give me 1 second.
Boy, Jim gets the night off these days, huh?
You can just skip probably right to the, just so the committee knows, the Jefferson slides have dropped off the main construction update here. The building's completed. We're in the, final stages of the closeout process, reconciling all the contracts. There's an item later in the agenda to reconcile the moving contract. The school has moved in. Everyone seems to be happy. We're making very minor adjustments as we move into the heating season, but other than that, everyone seems to be very pleased with the new building.
Yeah, just feel free. I know Greg has previously mentioned the lights was on and stuff. We follow up on it. Yeah. There's some, we adjusted the system. If any council member, any member of the school, if you find something that's kind of unique and something doesn't seem right, just email me and we'll follow up. I mean, I think sometimes, you know, or Bill Hodel will follow up. But anyway, just let us know. And it's, you know, again, there's always growing pain a little bit sometimes, you know, so we want to make sure we capture them. And we'll continue to, we ran into some boiler issue recently. So we are catching up, and there's been a lot of communication, manufacturers on site and stuff, and try to solve some of these startup issues and stuff. So yeah, by all means, let us know.
So moving into the Cranberry project, about 2 weeks ago, we did do the topping off ceremony for the steel. It was a really, really good time. You know, all the students from the building came out for about a half an hour, and you know, they sang some songs and a couple of them spoke. And it was a really good event. And then, you know, the steel contractor lifted the beam over the building for all the kids to see, and they were cheering. So it was a really, really well attended and great event. With regards to the actual work on the Cranberry project, you know, the structural steel is still in progress. If you've been by the building lately, you know, it actually looks like a building now. You know, the building slab has been, first floor slab has been completed. All of the steel has basically been erected. And even the roof screens have been installed onto the steel. The masonry work has begun on site, and the contractor's working on building the stairwells. The slab for the second floor of the building is scheduled to begin in the middle of this month. And also, you know, while the building is being constructed, we've been working with the state and the Board of Education to get the furniture and technology package for the building approved. We've received that approval from the state, and we've been working with the purchasing department to get the building furniture out to bid. Our goal was to get it out to bid and get bids back prior to the new year to try and, you know, secure the best pricing we could for the city. And at this time, the bids for the furniture package will be due back just before Thanksgiving on November 22nd. So we should be bringing recommendations for your approval at the December meeting.
Okay.
And the next slide is just a couple photos of the work on site, so you could see the steel progress, and then the CMU masonry going up. You know, that'll have a brick finish on the outside that hasn't been installed, but you know, the contractors are working diligently to keep this thing moving.
There's no questions from Mike. We'll jump into the Norwalk High School update.
Okay, go ahead.
As we reported the last couple of months, design development phase is underway, will be completed in December of this year. The project team continues to meet with the new Norwalk High School and P-TECH administration. There was a change of administration, so we wanted to make sure they were up to date. And we're also meeting with the staff to review the latest plans and give them a rundown top to bottom of the current floor plans. We have in-person presentations scheduled with P-TECH on the 7th of this month and Norwalk High School on the 14th of this month. And while this is going on, we're also preparing the special permit application to be submitted to planning and zoning. With that, we're speaking to the local utility companies as well as the other departments as necessary to get their feedback and understanding of our documents.
I just want to add that we actually had a presentation for the on 2 days ago to the Norwalk High School staff. They were having a meeting in the afternoon, and we actually presented online. They were at the auditorium, so the entire project with the site plans and elevation was shown to them. Okay.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah, oh, sorry, Greg, I didn't see you. Go ahead.
yeah, yes, thank you. Just one quick question. What are we doing in terms of keeping the community and the parent community up to date on the progress of Norwalk High? Just, you know, you mentioned you updating the leadership there and the staff, but is there any plans to update the community and the neighbors in the area and the parent group at Norwalk High?
There's a few things we're doing. One is that I'm trying to reestablish the building advisory committee, and there will be representation from one member of the school governance council to be on the committee. The other thing we're doing also is that we are actually looking to set up a Norwalk School construction website with Norwalk High School and South Norwalk School as a two project that will be posted on the website, so that it will be interactive in terms of getting comments and information out. Those are the two primary things. I think we may consider doing a presentation to the, we haven't talked about it yet, but we are to the School Governance Council. And also, I think we will probably send out a notice about website to the middle school, elementary school. So for those parents that are interested in it, want to know when their kids in about 5 years, about 4 years from now, when the kids may go into the Norwalk High School. So if they have interest at this time, they will be able to access the information where we are in terms of the project.
Great, all great ideas. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on this? All right, anything on South Norwalk you want to mention?
So now, so South Norwalk Elementary School, Tecton Architects has started to meet with administration and discuss our programming requirements for the new school. Those meetings will continue through December as we work into the schematic design phase of the project. Also, they're onboarding the necessary consultants to do the early design. That includes the survey, traffic, geotech, and environmental scopes of work. Also, in the past month, an advisory committee was established for the project. We met in October and we began discussing the community outreach, understanding that's an important part of this project. And we discussed the reaching out throughout the different phases of the project, and we're working on that to have something within possibly the next month based on everyone's schedule. In October, last month, we proposed Newfield Construction as the construction management services contractor. They were awarded that contract, and we're starting to incorporate them in our planning and design for the project.
Yeah, I just want to add, the architecture team is actually one of the things that we really want to establish is hiring the sub-consultant for traffic. So I think that's a very important component of our early stages of project development. So that's why we're focusing on hiring the traffic engineer and do the traffic studies and look at the intersection and how what we need to do to improve it. We did meet again, like Dan said, we did the building advisory committee met, and we have I think a multiple as part of our plan, there's multiple steps of meeting with communities. I think the first meeting is sometime in November, and we have some conceptual flyer that we are developing right now, and we just have to find the dates and time and where to meet. And also as part of the committee, two member common council is Tom and Darlene, and from the Board of Education we have Sherelle and Diana, and we also have the principal from the old Columbus School. That's where they are now when they run a pre-K and K program over there. So the project has started, and we are and those are some of the outreach things that we're doing in terms of getting the community involvement and trying to get those parents that are currently going to the Columbus program. I'm not sure I don't know what they call them. We call it a program over there now, but we'll try to get those parents involved because eventually their kids will go into this school.
Okay. Unless there are any questions, let's just keep moving. Okay, no questions. All right, let's move on. It's getting late. project update, we got, just had that, so item E2. Review request to increase contingency allowance for moving at Jefferson School and refer the following to Common Council for action. Authorized to increase the contingency allowance for moving services for Precision Placement LLC for the Jefferson Elementary School renovated new project for an initial amount not to exceed $1,220.45. Really? Okay, counts noted. I'm not even gonna ask for I need a motion. Who wants to move it? Mr. Burnett. All right, we don't need discussion, right?
No, we don't. I
All
got
right.
yelled at by Mike already.
Now, seriously, if anyone wants to talk about it, we can. Otherwise, I'll just call for a vote. Okay, all in favor? It's unanimous. Okay. That was easy. Okay, item E3, review request to access Eversource Energy Initiative incentives for Cranberry School project and refer the following to Common Council for approval. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents with Connecticut Light and Power Company, DBA Eversource Energy, relating to energy incentives for the Cranberry School project. Do I have a motion? Ms. Smith, thank you. Alan?
Do you want me to take it, Alan, or
Yeah,
you want to
please,
do it?
please.
Okay. So as part of the design process for the Cranberry School, we reach out to Eversource for every one of these projects to seek as many energy incentives that may be available for the projects. Because Cranberry was a new building, the design of the building took a different approach where we did a full building energy model with Eversource. So previously, this committee had approved some design assistance that Eversource had provided to us through a third-party engineer that worked with the design team to make recommendations throughout the building, whether it be for the HVAC system, the electrical components, basically any energy consuming aspect to the building. That whole process went all the way through the design. It included, how tight the building envelope was. It was a really fully encompassing activity. And, through this process, basically Eversource looks at everything, creates the energy model, and then offers us an incentive based on the amount of energy use reduction that we're able to achieve with the new building. And as a result of all of that effort, Eversource recently presented the energy incentive. It's around $100,000 for this project. So, the city won't receive that incentive until all the building systems are actually installed and verified by Eversource. But these are components that, as the building construction evolves, that we're tracking and making sure that we're maximizing the incentive through Eversource.
So are they comparing it to the existing Cranberry School? Is that what they do?
Not the existing school. Basically, they benchmark the new building and how much energy use we're reducing with the new building, basically based on a, baseline model. So once we exceed that, then, there's a whole bunch of factors and calculations that go into it. And, once we maximize certain elements, then they provide an incentive offer to us.
Got you. Thanks. Any questions, discussion?
I mean, what is the baseline?
I think it's by building code.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? No. Okay, unanimous. Okay. Item 4, review recommendation for the designation of preferred solar photovoltaic developer for various building projects. Refer the following to the Common Council for action. Approve to delegate BCP LLC, DBA Viraji as the preferred solar photovoltaic developer for Cranberry School, Norwalk High School, and South Norwalk School development projects. And B, refer this designation to the Board of Education for future negotiation of terms and execution of corresponding power purchase agreements, PPA. We have a motion. Mr. Hoverman, thank you. Alan.
Yeah, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the city went through RFP process, and through that we designated a company to be the preferred solar developer for the city. At that time, we advertised the project. There was we have three potential sites for solar systems. But I don't think, none of it turned out. I think one's Knoll High School, one is, I forgot what it was. But
City
anyway,
Hall was
City
one.
Hall was one of them, right? And I think the other one was, I can't remember. Anyway, so, but.
Merrimack.
Merrimack, yeah.
Merrimack?
Merrimack.
Thank you. I think we
Merrimack.
also do the Oyster Shell Park was another one too, was a ground mounted system or something. But anyway, so with that approval, we through the years, it's a long process in terms of signing a power purchase agreement because it's a very unique arrangement. It's a 20 years agreement, and there's a payment made and stuff like that. So, but it took almost a year to execute the PPA. At the same time, as through that process, we finished 3 projects. One is Narrowmix School, one is Ponus, and one is Jefferson. So holding true to the initial request RFP to do 3 projects. So we thought that since the evolution of the industry as well as time, we thought there's a good opportunity to reissue a new RFP to see what other firms are available and what today's standards may be, kind of thing. So we did that recently, and we received 4 proposals. And I think it's RFQ and RFP. The reason being is that we want to look at Cranberry, which is under construction, Knoll High School and South Knoll School under design. So we requested qualification for all 3 sites, but with a proposal for Cranberry only, because the other project wasn't developed enough for them to submit a proposal. So based on the submission, we shortlisted 2 firms. We've interviewed them, and through that process, we are recommending Verigy, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. As a preferred designated solar developer. I think there's a lot of detail in the backup material. Talk about how there's 20-year life. There's a buyout provision which you require under tax credits. And on and on. We try to fix some of the numbers so that we can compare apple to apples, just like annual increases and stuff like that, so that the different proposal doesn't vary from each other. So to the extent that we can standardize it, we try to in terms of proposal perspective. We also have a consultant, energy consultant, to help us to evaluate these proposals, and he was extremely helpful in terms of understanding the industry, understand what the proposal details are, and so again. What we're doing here tonight is really referring to Common Council as a destination developer. The proposal will continue to change because there's incentive money, REC money, renewable energy credits. The dollar amount changes depends on the time they apply for it, and also the size of the system will continue to evolve as they get more detail in the design. They basically propose a 160 kilowatt system, I think it is. But potentially it could be more, it could be less. So the final number won't be known until we finish the design process. So this provides, generally speaking, a parameter of what this relationship would be in terms of financially. And then when we get to Knoll High School and South Knoll School, they are able to, with this destination, they will be side by side with us in terms of design process to figure out what the building load requirements are, access in terms of conduit runs and all that stuff. And we will continue to look at the carport system, see the financial feasibility of the carport system for both sites. And with this destination, they are integral part of the design. But at some point in the future, they will be submitting proposal for those 2 projects. At that point, we will negotiate with them to see what number works for both sides. And we always have option to terminate this preferred destination parameter. What it does is it gives us the ability to work with us, knowing that there is a commitment, but at the same time, it's not a final agreement of whether we're going to do it. So, it's a good relationship established. I mean, there will be a relationship established, so that they're fully aware where we are and our commitment to work on this together. And to the extent that the number works out, then they will enter a power purchase agreement. The other last thing is that because it's a lease system. We use our city buildings, and they will install equipment at no cost to the city. So basically, we're leasing the system from them, and the payment is based on the amount of electricity generated by the system. Because the money that comes out to pay them is coming from operating budget from Board of Education. So this PPA will be executed by Board of Education. And therefore, the city cannot tell the Board of Education to execute any agreement. So we're basically referring this recommendation to the Board of Education. And the day after, we would staff would work with Board of Education with Bill and to work out the details. And at some point they would present it to the board and then the PPA would be executed.
Thank you, Alan. Any questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. All right, and Bill, thank you for hanging in there. Last but not least. This would be item 5, review request to submit school reimbursable grant application for air conditioning at Nathan Hale Middle School and Silvermine Elementary School and refer the following to Common Council for action. A, resolved that the Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee is hereby established as the building committee with regard to Nathan Hale Middle School air conditioning IAQ project. B, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the Nathan Hale Middle School air conditioning IAQ project. C, resolved that the City of Norwalk Common Council authorizes the City of Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant from the Nathan Hale Middle School air conditioning IAQ project. D, resolved that the Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the Silvermine air conditioning IAQ project. E, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the Silvermine air conditioning IAQ project. And F, resolved that the City of Norwalk Common Council authorizes the City of Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the Silvermine air conditioning IAQ project. Do I have a motion? Anyone? Ms. Smith, thank you. All right, Bill?
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Alan, for adding this to the agenda. So sometime around mid-summer, the governor's office mentioned an HVAC grant for the many districts in the various cities and towns across Connecticut. They included no criteria whatsoever. So we were kind of waiting for this to come our way, and it finally did in late September. There's a huge criteria that is involved in submitting a grant application, and they gave us 60 days to do it. We are about midway of that 60 days. So by December 1st, we have to file a grant application with the Office of School Construction Grants and Review. So what we had to do is come up with some projects. As it turns out, this board and the Common Council has already approved funding for our HVAC program, which is also correlated with the indoor air quality. And that is to install air conditioning at the schools over a certain apparent period of years. This is more of a temporary window style air conditioning and wall mounted split systems as well. We've done a number of schools and we already have in the planning and we have funding approved by the Common Council to do the next school. And that is Nathan Hale Middle School. So we thought this is a great opportunity by where we can submit that project as part of this grant, even though as we started the planning and we're about 80% completed with design, there was no state funding for that. So as opposed to having it coming out of our budget, our capital budget, and no funding from the state, we are now submitting for that project at the 60% rebate that we will get from the state. As we looked at the criteria a little further, we then found out that they will reimburse projects that were completed in the past year. So just last year, we completed the project with the same effort at Silvermine Elementary School. So we, on December 1st, or just before December 1st, we plan to file an application for both projects. A project that is about to happen this summer and a retroactive project that already took place that we can take benefit of receiving a 60% reimbursement for that. So what you have here in front of you is our approval to submit an application. This would have to then go to Common Council, the NPS Facilities Committee, and the NPS Board, all before December 1st. and then we can file the application and then move on to next steps. So that's what we have in front of us. It's kind of money that was never anticipated. Now that it's an offering to us, we want to take advantage.
That's great. So Bill, do you have any idea what kind of money we're talking about?
I estimate between both projects about 1.2 million.
Wow. Real money. That's great.
That
Any-
would be the project cost. 60% of that would be their reimbursement.
Oh, so we would not, it's not 1.2, that's the total value. So we'd get 700,000, give or take.
Yes.
All right, great. Any questions, discussion? Barbara?
Yeah, I'm just curious, after these two, how many schools yet need to be completed?
There's about 3 or 4. I
Oh,
don't have that list
getting there.
with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the funds set aside then for Nathan Hale, were you to get this grant, you would just move them along to the next project?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Nobody opposed, unanimous. Okay, thank you, Bill. That's
Thank
it.
you.
Alan, anything else?
No.
I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hulaman, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all. Everybody have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Alan.